What I've done is I used a couple of horns that I had laying around. These are control horns, and I split them apart, and then I stacked them, and I have one here I can show you. I actually cut down one leg here so that I could stack them like this and have the holes line up. See, you can see if I try to put it there like that, the back holes don't line up. But if you cut one down and stack them, then the holes will line up and you can put some screws through them. So that's the first part. The second part is I cut off the top part, which would be here. If you do it the way I did it, you can see that I cut that part off, and it's right there. By removing that part and cutting a slot in here with a hole that happens to be the same diameter as the piece on the front, and I'm going to set the camera down here, maybe I can do this. This will actually slide on, and if you listen, you hear it snap in place. And now I'm going to do nothing more than hot glue that in place. Now also, the other thing that I did was I drilled a hole. After I put the screws in it, I drilled a hole through it, and the hole goes all the way through, as you can see there, and that's actually going to be the pivot point. At this point, I have a zip tie wrapped around the horn, just kind of holding that in place. I have trimmed my wire, the height just above the connector that I put up there. You could use a wheel collar. I just used EZ connector just to make it simple. And next I need to make the linkage that's going to connect this servo horn to this part of the front wheel. And you can see that the front wheel is going to turn just by moving that wire. So what I need to do is make something simple, something light. So what I have is a piece of piano wire that I'm going to feed into the horn like that, and it's cut long enough that if I add a horn to it, a servo horn to it, which I already have, then I will be able to connect the linkage. So the way I'm going to do this is if I take the horn and I drill two holes, in this case I've drilled a hole out to fit the wire here, and also this hole is so that it fits the steering arm, and then the piece of piano wire I've cut to the proper length and put Z-bends in both ends of it. Also on the horn I've also cut a slot, and you can see that I've put the wire in the slot, and so it's a snug fit. But what you do is I'm going to insert the wire into the hole, pull it back onto the slot, and it's going to set like that. And then I have a piece of shrink wrap that I have enlarged using a pair of needle nose pliers just to open up the end, and I'm going to slide this on and cover over that, and then I will shrink this down, and that's going to hold all this together. Now one thing I will do before I install this is I'm going to run a bead of hot glue in between the wire and the horn, and then slide this over, and that way it'll fill any void there. I'm just going to run a bead of hot glue right over the horn like that, just a little bead. Set this down over it like that, and very quickly slide this over, because it's going to want to shrink down, I know, almost immediately, and it did. So now I will help it along. And now I will have the end, and you can see the hot glue is coming out the end, so that's going to make this wobble free, and it should also keep it pretty light. So now I'll clean the any residue from the hot glue and go ahead and install this. So to install it, I'm just going to put the wire in the hole, push it down below, and then bring the wire through the larger hole that I drilled in this horn, And now I'm going to turn it over and install a wheel collar, or in this case an easy connector. Tighten up the connector. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one up. And now only thing I have left to do is to run some hot glue in this area here, in the back in between the two carbon rods on either side. So put hot glue in between the 3 carbon rods, a little hot glue in here. I want to fill all the voids so that I tighten this up. Here you can see I've added the hot glue just around the horns to secure them. And I did leave the zip tie in place, so that should all be secured. Here's a look at the finish on the Quicksilver nose wheel conversion. And you can see that I have it hooked to the transmitter, and it steers left and right.